Hey there, kids. It's me, Oni the Unicorn. And I'm here to tell you that f***ing your dreams ain't cheap. In fact, it costs a ton of cash to do. So that's why me and the Oh No Radio Show need your help. Just go to the website displayed below and hit us up with some cash, yo. $1, $5, $1 million if you have it to spare. Any amount is appreciated. Well, I gotta go because these dreams ain't gonna fuck themselves. See ya!
Oh my God, what's gonna happen? Oh my God! We have a new champion! And yes, welcome back, my friends, to get another edition of the Oh No Wrestling Podcast, episode 196. And yeah, ya boy is back. Talk about grand returns. Your predictions champion has returned from his tour of Europe. That's right, your Sharpbreak Kid in the house once again, alongside a very formidable challenger and a very, actually, you know what? You're a decent host on your own right, Matthew, as you held down the fort. Not as good as me, but you held it down pretty damn well. Everybody, Matthew, the modern day Maharaja in the house. And this feels right, Matthew. This feels right. It feels right that we're back, the two of us. Gumption Junction here.
Gumption Junction is back.
Back in business, everybody. And again, thank you, of course, to yourself and our good brother Jay, and even from the Ono Radio Show, our one and only Mikey B, for stepping in to help me while I was gone and do some shows with you. I do have one bone of contention, but I'll get to that in just a second.
All right.
But I will say before we get into this podcast that I'm still catching up because there was a lot of wrestling that went down while I was gone. I know you haven't seen a ton of stuff in the last couple of days because of your hectic life, but what a better place I do not know of, sir, than to figure these things out together, to talk about what we do know and to talk about the world of pro wrestling. So you want to hear my gripes?
Let's get right into the gripes, yeah.
All right. So the only gripe I had was that there were no names assigned to these people. We know that this with Mikey and Jay, there were no pseudonym wrestling names that accompanied them. And this, I say, sir, was a mistake on your part. This was a blunder, a huge blunder, a botch, if you will, that only we can correct now.
That's very true. It's a big botch. I will take that criticism because I didn't even think about it, and it's a very good point. I was nervous hosting the show, without you. It was great to have Jay in the studio twice. He actually came over twice and did it, which was awesome. And then Mikey, having him on was absolutely great. I was so nervous, like, to try and like do everything that you do all the fucking time. Right. And like try and keep the energy up and like, which was natural actually. Like once, but I was nervous both times with Jay before starting. And then also with Mikey, it was just kind of like, I had a lot on my mind. I really wanted it to go well. I knew I was going to drop the ball in a few places, and that's one that I had not realized yet. So,
There you go.
good criticism. I'll take it.
You'll take it. So what are we? First off, you did a great job with both of them. Jay is an absolute natural, and I would gladly have him on a show at some point. But speaking of others, of course, our good buddy Duncan, he's just not been able to get the tech side. I think life's just been a little too hectic for him for a while. But Duncan was the king of bong style. Myself, the Sharp Ray Kid. You, as the modern day Maharaja. What is Jay Jansen's name? I mean, he's got to be Double J of some description, right? I mean, is he Double J
does.
Jansen? I mean, is he? We got to fit that in. Any suggestions to this? Help us.
He maybe mentioned at some point like Action Jansen,
It's not bad.
which is not bad. I kind of like that one, but Double J Jansen,
It's got a ring.
It's got a ring.
Double
man.
J Jansen's got a pretty good ring to it. So I'm going to think of that for now until we get something better. Oh, but Mikey B. How do we do Mikey B? Oh,
It's a tough one.
He could. Oh, man. He is. We need a really bad gimmick for Mikey B.
Yeah, he needs a real bad.
He needs
gimmick.
a real Repo Manny type gimmick. He would be the Repo Man of the show. I feel like
he would be. Yeah, he would be.
I feel like if anybody's gonna be the Repo Man, it would be Mikey B. And yeah, so we got to come up with. No, I can't get it yet. I'll get it there. We'll get it there.
No.
No,
Depot Man doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. I was just trying to figure it out, but we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Like I said, I did miss a fair deal of wrestling though while I was gone, and man, I gotta say, in the whole period I was gone, I'm just gonna make this simple. Out of everything that really did happen, I gotta say that Backlash blew me away.
Backlash was good, man.
I'm telling you, when WWE puts on a pay-per-view and they've got a hot crowd, and boy, was that crowd hot. They
were. And I haven't gone back and watched it, so maybe you can tell me this. Because I felt like they definitely, my point of contention with what WWE did there, because it was great. The crowd was great. The wrestling was great. Like the
production was great.
Yeah, but the three last matches, they should have ended with the Bad Bunny match. Like the crowd seemed, and now that I think about it, and also I had been traveling for 9-10 hours that day. No, 10 hours at airports and then 2 hours before. So 12 hours I was traveling that day. So I came back and when I started, got back and started it live. And it was the second match. So maybe I was just really tired. But after that Bad Bunny one, I felt like the KO Sami Uso one, it was kind of just it was good, but it was okay, you're hitting all the spots. We know them all now. This has all been part of the thing. That kind of got to me because I was just I'm tired of seeing this. But it seemed like people weren't popping, even for Sami and stuff like that, as loud as they were for other
Bad
matches
Bunny.
previously.
Yeah. Okay.
Bad Bunny, obviously, but
Obviously.
and Zelina Vega I think the crowd was just hot for so many other matches. But I think after that Pinnacle, it was weird because Sami, I think it was just kind of we're kind of over this. And maybe that was just me projecting that onto it. But then I thought it was a bad thing to finish with Cody and fucking Lesnar.
See, I didn't think it was a bad thing to finish with Cody and Lesnar. I think that realistically, you kind of have to put that on last. And maybe you can say it didn't deliver as much as it should have. I thought it was an excellent actual wrestling match, and that was the point of it, right? That Cody was going to out wrestle Brock Lesnar, and that's what he did. In the end, he used a wrestling move, an amateur wrestling move, to get a pin on Brock Lesnar.
It's like a roll up or something.
I mean,
right?
yeah, the most devastating move in all of
Yeah.
professional wrestling. But you still have to give it to them that they really actually they had a great match. Now, was that the match for Puerto Rico? I think they were really into it. I don't think there's a problem with it. And I think that like anytime you put Brock in a main event spot, you know, because you could have, I mean, everyone would still not be terribly surprised if Cody were to have lost that match, right? So like this is a unpredictable match by a lot of metrics. Now Cody sort of has to win, but that's why it's so unpredictable. And I think that it was intelligent to put that on at the end because you knew Bad Bunny was going to win. Right?
Yeah.
And I think I knew the Usos were going to win that match because of the way this, I don't know, the way the story is being told. That one's a little less predictable, but when it comes to it, I think it was the most unpredictable match on the card. What a smart decision to open, though, with Belair and Io Sky.
Dude, that match banged.
It banged.
Such a good match.
And how nuts was it to see a crowd that behind Io? Like,
dude, she deserves it, too.
Like, firmly, like, Bianca got cheers, sure.
Yeah.
But I think Io was more over in that building, in that match on that night. Puerto Rico loves Io Sky. I would never have guessed that one. And and she does deserve it. You're absolutely right. And I think it's great because if they don't see this, I think they already were, but if they don't see this and really, really use it to their benefit and to her benefit and maximize some on the potential that we all know is there, like, then, well, again, it's another strike while the iron's hot. She was that over in that building that you need to be doing that with her every chance you get.
Yeah.
You know, so I was really surprised in that crowd reaction. I was just surprised that they were as electric really the whole night. And to be that electric for, you know, do you think it was just because it was the opening match? Like you can say that if they were just really hot and it was 50-50 in the crowd. But I don't think
they
you
were
can
there
say
for SmackDown the night, but they were there for SmackDown the night before, not like this exact same crowd, but the crowd was hot on SmackDown too. I think they were just overall stoked that wrestling was there.
I think they were. That's what this is what I'm asking. Like, or this is what I'm kind of saying. They wouldn't just be isolating Io Sky if they were just hot for just wrestling being there.
Yeah.
They were stoked on Io Sky in a likes that she has not been ever in the WWE. Ever.
Agreed, but how much of that do you think? And she totally deserves it. And I'm not saying I believe this, but like it's very feasible to think that when they're already hot, right? Which they were hot, like I said, even for SmackDown. But then you're hot. They're like, okay, it's first pay-per-view. There is that. So like, yes, maybe that same chant would have happened and she would have had the crowd support, right? But do you think it would have been as hot if like wrestling did come there more often?
Yeah, but okay, so I don't think I saw the SmackDown before Backlash. Did Io Sky do anything of significance on that show?
I don't know.
Probably not.
So much
Probably
wrestling.
not. That's not what you're referencing. So then why wouldn't they have equally been behind the champion in Bianca Belair, who was this charismatic, you know?
I don't know. But for a few weeks, they have been pushing Io. She's had singles matches, and she's had a banger or two of a match on Raw.
Well, maybe this is part of what I've missed, because I was unaware of such a strong Io push.
Because they're doing this, like, she's annoyed with Bayley thing.
Yeah.
But then she wrestled, I forget who it was on Raw, but they had like a really, really good match like on Raw a couple of weeks ago. But then Io didn't win. There was some fuckery that happened, I think, but she didn't win. But then Bayley's like, oh, we're going to show you how to really do it. And then her and Dakota Kai are like, you know, but you can see it that like in the promos, like Bailey's trying, I think, because I think she knows that Io's pissed off at her. But when she's talking and stuff, Io gives her these looks and like rolls her eyes and like looks really angry. Like they've been building this for a few weeks.
It might end up okay. Bailey looked.
I think it's good that she's on SmackDown.
Bailey looked really hot on Backlash. I gotta say, like
pants.
Those pants. I thought her hair and her makeup were spot on. I thought.
Did you see it said Io Sky in her hair, shaved in the back?
I saw that. I was impressed. I was like, good on you, Bailey. But yeah, did apart from, I mean, Bad Bunny impressed again, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's an obvious one.
He did great.
Damian Priest came out of it looking like a goddamn superstar as well, though. Like it was a great. I don't know. It was weird. I think it was almost as good as a match for Damian as it was for Bad Bunny.
Oh yeah, apparently from what I've read in the past week, like they're huge behind him backstage now because he did such a good job getting Bad Bunny there and doing it, and like the whole thing, apparently he's held in a really, really high regard because of that, which is great because he did do great and he has been doing well leading up to that.
Did you see? I never saw the pictures of like old when he very first started Punishment Martinez, like when he very, very first started.
Oh, I've seen pictures. Yeah,
when he's fat.
Wow.
Like yeah. He looks like a wild Samoan. He doesn't look like Damian Priest. Like, I don't know. It's kind of funny to see, but like, what a body transformation. And I think that there's a lot that they can do with him. I think he's got like Judgment Day has been a perfect vehicle for him to be a part of. And I think there's a real strong face run coming for him soon. I wouldn't be even surprised if within, like, he could be in the main event picture with, I guess, like the future, what is it? Is it the WWE heavyweight champion, the new belt?
Yeah, but isn't Judgment Day on SmackDown now?
I don't care. I was going to ask you this as a general question. Did the draft matter? Like, you saw the draft. I was away for the draft. Has the draft mattered in any capacity to you?
No, because the biggest thing that they've done, like some people, yes, they've kind of made a bigger deal. Like I heard last night's Raw was very Imperium heavy. Because
it was.
Because finally Gunther showed up. So I think they've done some of that on both shows, but they also, like Jay and I talk about, they have free agents. So like Omos, like Dolph Ziggler, like Ali, they're all like free agents. So they can go between either one. And then why did you make such a big deal and say whichever like thing Roman is drafted to, right? That's where that championship will be.
Right.
This one will be on the other brand. So it's obviously on Raw, but then you announced a tournament after you did that.
And then
you said, well, we're going to have SmackDown people
they can compete
wrestling Raw people for a championship, but we're going to have the SmackDown bracket on SmackDown.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have it. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? What does that mean?
It means that they would just immediately change the belts and stuff, right? That they would change the alliance of somebody, that they could theoretically do that. It's sort of the same thing as what happened, and I feel like they're going to be doing it again real soon with, who was it? It was Charlotte and
Bianca?
Was it? Where they switched belts? Or is one of the two? But I feel like they're going to do that again, right? Because...
Well, they have to. Bianca Belair was just in Knoxville, with the Raw Women's Championship on SmackDown in her hometown, being like, I'm the longest reigning Women's Champion of the modern era with the Raw Championship on SmackDown. Also, why did you announce this? Then you did the draft and you transferred Rhea. Like, you switched.
Why'd you do that to yourselves?
Yeah, you switched them.
I mean, it must be that one of the networks probably really wanted, one or the other.
And I think I misspoke. I think Judgment Day is on Raw. I think you're right. I think I misspoke.
They are. Judgment Day is on Raw, and and Rhea has the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Yeah, and she's been on Raw with this. Yeah, so I don't think anyone knows, but it did not, as Triple H said, fundamentally change the game.
No, I
It
don't.
there's no fundamental anything about it. It's unless it's like just it's fundamentally confusing.
AJ is SmackDown, Seth is Raw. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So that would make sense. That would obviously at Night of Champions we've got the new champion crowned, Seth and AJ in the finals. It was smart to take Cody out of that picture and keep him with Brock. It's actually perfect for both of them for a little while. It's a strong attraction match that they can tell stories with. They can get to where they need to get to with Cody to sort of re-envision that vision, right?
They're what we're 100% going to get, I believe.
Yep.
Is they're just running back what they did with Roman and Brock. And we're going to get forever now Cody and Brock until they reach an apex with fucking Cody even bigger than they have now. And people are going to hate it for a while because I'm already sick of it. He's shoved down my throat. He's on Raw like fucking like 4 times a night. They do his entrance like 4 fucking times a night. Every Raw, he comes out and talks, and he says pretty much the same thing. It's like they do 1 week, there's something.
They're all like good promos, but they are. But
it's like you're in a holding pattern for the next 4 weeks, so you're just going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm already sick of that, but I will say like it does work. I just really hope they don't, but I have a feeling they're going to do this thing with Brock and him for a while, and it's going to be something they always come back to, like they did with Roman.
It's kind of an emergency break glass. We have this can go for a while. This works this is how you get out of Cody losing to Roman. This is how you get because he now has to conquer Brock before he can get back
and
at
once
that
he
title.
Once he finally does, he's no one else has really beaten Brock except for Roman.
Correct.
So now he's earned his spot. Although, how great would it be? I was thinking about this. I know we've talked about it in the past, like doing like Jay to be the one to take it from Roman. And I was thinking about this the other night, and I thought about it again this morning. If they actually did it the right way, because it's so fucked up and they should have dropped the title at Mania still, but we got to let that go. But with everything that's been happening, I'm like, what if eventually skip over the Usos doing it, put it on Solo, have him be eventually the one, because he's always helped him and everything. He puts Roman out. He fucking takes it. And now you've got that youngest generation of Simone that you're like building from again.
It's decent. I don't think he is strong enough to be the guy to take it off Roman. I don't know.
Not yet, but Roman's not going to lose it for probably like another 1,000 days. So,
I mean, it's possible. It's possible. I've heard a lot of theories being floated around right now about the combination of Solo and Roman taking the belts off of Sami and KO.
Yeah.
And if you want to extend the Bloodline story, it's kind of what you should do. It can also be the beginning of the end for Roman as a solo champion because he's too distracted, and Jay can now Shanghai one of them belts off him. And now you've got a main event Jey Uso. You'd probably have him win the WWE one, honestly. You probably would. No, I think you have him win the Universal, but that's the big one for Roman, isn't it? Because he's had that one longer. But yeah, like I could see like a whole. That's how you break up the bloodline. It's how you also send Roman away for a while after, because then you can run with a million storylines about how he's like, he's broken, so now he's going to lose all the belts, and you can pick a team, that would work for that. But there are teams.
One, what is Roman doing? He's already gone for long periods of time. Like, what do you think he's doing? I don't see him doing press. I don't think he's making movies.
He's probably making babies with
Just hangs out and works
Mandy
out.
Rose. Remember, he's
Yeah.
banging Mandy Rose somewhere. And
Well, but beyond that, last night was the first time this past Friday. This is the first time he was on SmackDown since the first post WrestleMania Raw or something.
it was a while.
It's been a while. Now you're going to do this, which means he doesn't have to defend it. I read somewhere that like last year he defended 7 times. So you only have to have he's done 1 defense. All right, so now you just have you now have new people over there on SmackDown for them to run through. He's going to beat Bobby Lashley. They're going to do just stupid things like that, right? So he doesn't have to. He's just going to keep holding them. But what happens to the tag divisions if he and Solo win the belts? Because that's the Raw and SmackDown titles. So now the brand split's even more fucked. He has all the belts. No one can wrestle for any tag titles in either show.
This is why it's going to happen, bro. And he's going to somehow win the Money in the Bank briefcase too. And then he's just got everything. King of the Ring, same year. He's just going to, he won't be able to walk to the ring because he'll be so gimmicked out that
I hope he beats up, maybe he'll beat up AJ Styles on the way to Saudi Arabia or when they land or something. And then he has to fight Seth and he wins that belt.
Oh, God. If they were to, it would be funny though. It would be kind of funny. And here's the thing. Could this actually just be a way to figure out a way to get the titles split off Roman? So if what you're saying happens, right, they could make the argument, no, that's the Raw belt. You're not allowed, like, even he could win it. He's walking around with it, but he has to relinquish it, which means it's sort of like a separation of the titles at that point. You could do it in that way. I don't know.
You could, but I guess they would only be able to be wrestling then for the SmackDown tag team titles.
No, I'm talking about just with the worlds, right? If he didn't win any of the SmackDown stuff, but he were to win the new belt that they just made, the secondary prize, then that becomes the world's title that he has. And he's not walking around with the Universal, he's walking around with that one, but then like somehow like it's a different lineage. So you have to challenge for it independently rather than the unified title.
Oh.
You know, I think they do some shit like that. You know them.
Yeah, they don't make it easy for the casual fan, do they?
No, they don't. You know what I like though is that you mentioned it earlier that Imperium were all over this latest Raw. It was actually kind of cool, and all of it I've seen I liked. It was little backstage segments and like brief interactions, but they were constantly on the show. It's like, clearly we like these guys, we're about to push these guys, or we're gonna see if you like these guys, we're trying to push these guys, see how this works out. I think Imperium have a big future. There was talk today, or rumors going around, remember Dragunov? Ilya Dragunov had that great match with Walter at the time in NXT UK, won the belt off him, and it was the one that defeat Gunther in NXT UK. And now there's talks about maybe adding him to Imperium. And it's sort of stupid, but sort of makes sense because they're supposed to be like.
Did he get drafted?
No, but I think he's still with the company. Like, I don't know. There's been rumblings. It's all dirt sheet stuff, but it sort of makes sense and sort of doesn't, because who knows how they change his name, like give him a new presentation, kind of the Walter to Gunther treatment, right? So don't never say never. It could probably work. He would fit aesthetically, although the two of them, you're asking us at that point though to forget your own history, because it's like this guy and this guy were total enemies and went through war together and are supposed to hate each other. Now, if there's an acknowledgement of that this guy used to be my biggest enemy, that we hated each other, but we hated each other so much we learned to respect each other, and all, like, because we were so similar, and I
There's that, but
if you play it that route,
but if you're gonna keep Gunther on the top, it just makes the other guy look weak. Being like, yeah, I'm just gonna fall in line behind you.
It kind of
does. Which means you could never really have him then believably challenge again, because unless the story is like, well, he did that to get close to him to learn more.
Yeah, so you could do something like that. It's fine.
I guess, but the thing with Imperium though, that was like the big draft. That was one of the biggest things for Raw to get. So that's why I think Gunther being there was a big deal. But Imperium's been on without him. They don't win when he's not around.
Yeah, no, they don't.
They should win more.
They should, and I've seen them win, but I have seen them win before. They don't get beat all the time, but it's a real fitty deal with them. Like they're not
the last two
dominant.
times on Raw they've lost.
You might be right. I haven't, been paying that much attention to their record, but that is a very good point.
But it's when Gunther's not around.
Well, what was interesting about like all the little threads they were throwing in with like Imperium on Raw this past Monday to me was how many little storylines it all like kind of like fed into, because they had interaction with Sami and KO, and we'll have interaction with them next week as full Imperium versus Sami, KO, and a partner they're choosing, probably Riddle again, and they'll probably do that again, but this time on Raw, I guess. I think that there is still a longer Riddle Gunther plan at the moment. Like, I think that's probably the angle that they're trying to heat up with all that. And you can do, if you want to, you can do Freebird rule, which probably they should do with Imperium. And you have Gunther. You could have Gunther win that
and
strap,
Ludwig
like,
and one night,
do that, and then that works, and then that way you can like as a faction. They can all hold a set of belts at some point, which would look pretty fucking cool,
they would look badass. All with their arms behind their back,
exactly. I can see it. I can see
attention.
It. But the next defense is kind of interesting because I can go both ways with this booking. But we have Mustafa Ali. Is he just Ali? Is he Mustafa Ali? I don't know what he is.
He's positive
Ali is what he is, and I love that. But yeah, he won a pretty decent battle royal, and a lot of good little stories told in that one too. Like
I haven't seen it, but from what I was seeing online this morning, it actually was a pretty good battle royale, and it served a really good purpose.
Yeah, a lot of stories were made,
different things.
And now and no one would have guessed it, but we should have always guessed it, because this is going to appear on Night of Champions, and you've got Gunther the Spectacle, and you've got Mustafa Ali, who is vaguely Middle Eastern and will be on the show. Like it's textbook stuff, and Ali is. Now, what happens when Ali doesn't win the IC title? Like that could.
Maybe he joins Imperium. Maybe he's not positive Ali anymore after that.
I don't know. Gunther is gonna slap that.
He's gonna slap the shit out of him.
Smile off his face, but it is interesting. This almost seems like, when I'm gonna get in trouble here. How like. That there's that awful sort of like word, I'm gonna stop. It's like that other like racism where you're too nice to somebody, like like reverse racism. You know what I'm talking about? It's like it will come across almost as that in a weird
because
twist
you're trying not to be racist
by not because like we're gonna actually have Gunther beat up the hometown boy, but somehow we're doing it.
It's in canon, so it's not racist.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but they'll do it. They'll figure. They
will,
but they'll say they did. AJ Seth will be good.
It'll be good. I do think eventually, one thing I am excited about Gunther being on, eventually, whenever he drops that, he can then go for that title.
Yeah, that's what it should be, yeah.
And eventually we hopefully would get him and Brock, and not just, 9 months 10, 11 months of Cody Brock, maybe mix it up and have
That would be
but it's not going to happen while he has the IC title, I don't think.
no.
Because Brock has no reason to care about that, and he just doesn't seem to care about belts,
Gunther,
which I like.
Gunther also needs to remain heel for a good while yet.
Yeah,
like, that's one day he will be face, but
yeah.
it's not.
I think
today.
he'd be a good heel world heavyweight champion.
He'd be great. He would be great as that. He'd be great as that. Is it so obvious to me that it's Seth that will win AJ and Seth?
Yeah,
it feels it, right? It feels it, and
he needs something. He's a very good person. He is deserving for them to put something like that on, for like to start that lineage of that new belt, right?
I agree.
And he's been getting like, I mean, some places they've given him like 10-minute ovations.
Yeah, the reactions,
and like singing his songs for like 10 minutes straight.
It's so funny too because a lot of people talk about some of the very current WWE themes, the theme music, the entrance music, and a lot of it is terrible. They hit on the occasional banger, and I think when they do it, it's because they didn't mean to. It's because they were trying to go for actually something else that didn't work that good, and then somehow they come up with the odd, because the whoa, whoa, whoa isn't that good. That theme isn't that good, and it's not even that catchy of like a thing for people to sing, but it is catchy enough that people can grab it, right? That it's easy. It's not that it's good, it's that it's easy for them to do. So I'll give him credit there, but it wouldn't have happened if he wasn't already just slowly but surely getting over as a face. I still have no idea what the character is.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, he's like, he's sort of annoying, but not like, and I find him, he's matured a little bit, and I don't know, like, I still think it's still too jokery, whatever the character is, like that whole thing kind of bothers me.
Like too flamboyant.
Just unhinged or something. Like, I don't know. There's something that's never clicked with me about it. I kind of like, just let him be. If he's goofy, let him be goofy a little bit. Don't make him like try and be scary goofy, because it doesn't play. Like, that's just me. I got things with it, but he's gonna be a good first champion if that's what they deserve, or if that's what they do. I kind of feel bad for AJ because it's like, seems like it's his last chance at one more world title, but he's also probably had his own. He's, how much time does AJ have now, really? Like,
yeah, and I think keep him on SmackDown and let him have a program with Roman.
He'll eat a couple match series, or even a three match series. He'll eat some pins, and that'll be that. And then the fucking Good Brothers will get on TV and get paychecks, and Uncle Alan will take care of them again.
Yep.
And we will be right back where we started in 2017, or whatever we were. I don't know what it was.
I will say this about the music. I did see this note, so I just pulled it up to confirm. So on the 12th, it was reported that there's going to be a lot of revamped themes and people getting new themes in the next 3 months.
I hope so. It feels like it's been real shitty lately. I've been a vocal fan of Io Sky's. I think hers is actual. That shit bangs hard.
Boom, boom,
yeah,
boom,
it's
boom,
different.
boom,
It's different too.
boom.
It's scary.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's a banger if you haven't heard it. I encourage you to. Tim, I heard one the other day. I'm like, oh, that one doesn't get appreciated enough. Oh shit. Oh no, Ricky Starks just popped up on my
That's
phone
a good
again,
one.
and I really do like that track. I really do. I think that
Yeah, I like the
yeah,
horns and stuff. Yeah,
like
that's a good one.
he needs
There's
he needs more love right now. I'm sad that they didn't double down on Ricky. Maybe I don't think it's maybe just not his time yet, but I still think like he's a good heel, but I think he was getting over as a face and was going to be able to do it if he just gave him a little more and not
yeah,
saddled him with Jay fucking White. Who's
I
helping who here? Who's helping who here?
I talked to Double J Jansen about it and was saying that because I think he was doing something with Lethal and he did something else too. And I was just like, why is he wrestling that? Like he's been downgraded so much. He was so hot. And then
Yeah.
they did the thing where they kept it going too long with Jericho and it kind of fizzled. I think that's what I think it was.
Jericho is a succubus and he goes to young talent and he sucks their life force out. They get buried and he moves on to the next.
Well, maybe
victim.
that's a good thing that the rumors that, he and CM Punk are going to do something. So hopefully maybe he can just suck the life out of CM Punk and spit him the fuck out again, back to where he came from, because I don't care.
Okay. We will definitely we're going to do a second segment here in a little bit, obviously, where we get into full AEW conversation. That will come up, but I want you to keep that thought in mind. And I got some interesting thoughts about how this should go, will go, and some disaster thoughts as well. But I did like again back to the Imperium thing, and I will keep going back to it because it's a direction that is happening in a multitude of storylines. You have now Paul Heyman talking to Imperium backstage. Behind in an interview, when they shoot things and you see him in the background, you got Paul Heyman having a very, interesting look like conversation. We don't hear a word. Forget who was even on camera. I think it was some women. Just some women.
Just some women. I would love if in the background of WWE and AEW, Paul Heyman and Don Callis are talking at some point.
Oh,
just like really far in the back, you have to really pick up on
it. But no, like, oh yeah, that's who like they're each on the phone with. Like they're talking to their their clients. Yeah. So anyway, you see that, and that's just such an interesting thing, right? That like, well, what the fuck's Paul Heyman up to talking to Imperium? And then it kind of comes into effect later where they sort of get involved with, things, be it shit. What exactly? I mean, we've got all,
which is why we're gonna end up having that 6-man tag, right?
Exactly. We get them involved in the whole KO Sami situation, and but also you've literally got Paul Heyman. What's he doing? Is he doing business with Imperium? Is he paying Imperium to do the Bloodline's work because the Usos ain't so happy with Roman Reigns? Like that's my philosophy of it. It's like, oh, he's not got like the family is breaking down right now. I gotta, okay, how do I keep the tribal chief happy? Well, this needs to be done, so we need to hire some goons.
Yeah,
that's the way I kind of see it. But I also,
and because you're now on the show that they're on, it makes sense.
Yeah,
it does make sense because they're on Raw now. So Imperium's on Raw, and that's where KO and Sami are. So
there's a lot of cool. That makes sense. There's a lot of cool shit that you can do with that, though. I think that there's
there is,
and it's gonna weirdly all tie probably back to Roman and Bloodline one day if you need it to, because you can have a program if the Bloodline doesn't break up or can keep it together for a period, you'll eventually maybe even have an Imperium Bloodline situation. Now that's two heel factions going at it. It's very anti-WWE, but if you want to turn Imperium, I mean, that'd be a good way to do it.
Yeah. You know what? Can I, just because we're on Bloodline stuff, I still can't believe I've mentioned it to you a bunch of times when they were going through like the Jay, is he loyal to Sami or Roman thing, and like Jimmy couldn't get in touch with him, and he's like always calling him, and then Jay would show up and he'd be like, I got you, I always got you, right? They could never get in touch with each other. Roman's obviously always in with Paul Heyman, so maybe this is kind of the fuckery that like you're talking about. But when he was on SmackDown cutting his promo, he's like, oh, and you lost. Roman says this to the Usos. He says, oh, and you lost the championships at WrestleMania, and you thought we weren't going to talk about it. I'm like, it's been 6 weeks. Where the fuck have you
Where
been?
have you been?
You're always on the phone with him.
We should have talked a
apparently,
while
when you're
ago.
not here. Yeah. Also, for a family and a bloodline that is apparently very strong, they only ever communicate in the ring on Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah. They should probably
They
be
don't
having
talk
like
outside of any of that.
the odd, even if they're just seeing each other at the arena, maybe have a slight chat before we go. Before we get in there about things,
exactly.
Like, just do a little, yeah. Also, like, here's the deal too. It would be very strange if Reigns and Solo did win them for the, just the ridiculousness that it would be. But if anything, then Solo has to take the pin, and Roman's now pissed at all the bloodline, right? Like, so, like, that's the other way you have to kind of go with it if they don't take the belts. So it's one of the two things. Do you think that goes on last? Or do you think that AJ Seth goes on last? Those would be the two logical picks.
I think they'll do the new championship because it's the night of champions.
I feel like they will too. And I think that's why it'll be Seth rather than AJ as well, because he will get a huge reaction over there.
Yeah.
Like, he's a big star.
I mean, interesting that Sami's going over there, right?
Yeah, it's his first time.
Yeah, so I read a little bit about it. So the one time he had gone was in 2014, but there was some sort of like agreement, I think, and he was still like NXT or maybe just something like that. But also, so Syria and Saudi Arabia have signed a new agreement.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
so,
that.
And they were saying that apparently that might have something to do with it.
That would make a lot of sense.
It's like they're like easing tensions and supporting each other.
Okay.
And so maybe that's why.
Sami wants
nothing's confirmed.
Well, maybe also Sami, can be a part of that,
bridging the gap
and process. Like, I imagine that he's the type of guy to want to do that. Like, hey, if you've softened a couple positions, we can come over, we can talk. We're logical. Like, we can be, we don't have to be,
this can work for everyone.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. It's certainly, I hope it's that. And I don't know enough about, global politics to, comment really, but
me neither. It was just something that
that's super interesting.
I Googled it because I was like, why is he going?
Until you said it, I like, of course I know about the Sami and the Syria stuff, and like, same with KO. KO would never.
He went
go
to the
over
first one in 2016 and then didn't go, and apparently it was out of support of Sami.
So if he's going too, then like he's got his support, and like, what a beautiful thing if they're doing that. They're doing that together, and like that's actually, if that's really the what's going on. But yeah,
that's true.
But I still don't know. Okay, yeah. So
I was gonna say, what if they did this with, and we can then get away from all. It's hard not to, but we can get away from all this bloodline stuff. But what if Solo and Roman win it, and then that's how you end up breaking up? Like, you have the Usos eventually like get jealous, challenge them, or you have like Roman be so cocky about it, he's like, wrestle us, I want to see what you got, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they fuck up.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, and they fuck up Solo.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million ways you can go with it, but having Reigns and Solo win those belts ain't so crazy.
It's
like,
not.
It's actually not a really even dumb idea, because there's a lot that you can do with it storyline wise. I mean, I told one version, which was basically like Roman gets so overburdened with all of the responsibilities. I know, working fucking like 5 times a year, but it's still kind of that thing that once one drops. Like, you can still tell the story for a while, and you can see the gradual decline of the former champion until the thing finally snaps and what have you. So, but, you know, the dissolution of the bloodline, I think they're going to want to tell. They spent a lot of time building this, and it's such an incredible story that Roman can still retain for a very long time, and the bloodline can be half the story of its slow decline with other mixtures in it. It doesn't have to end. It has to evolve. It has to change. But you can still be telling some of those stories. They might not even be called the bloodline by the end of this, but we'll know, right? Like, that there's always this tension between Roman and Jay never got his final spot. And like there's a lot that we can do that with that still. And in the meantime, we can tell compelling stories with, you know, Roman and other people. But the underlining thing is that could be why he keeps at least one of those belts for until he, you know, doesn't want to wrestle for, you know, like, at all.
I mean, I don't think they're ever going to, I think those titles are just going to be forever unified.
You really? Yeah. At this point,
I don't think they're ever going to, I think that's done. They just refer to him as the Universal Champion. Like when he came out on Friday, it's Universal Champion.
They do it off and on. They'll still throw the unified in there, which if you're suggesting it's a unified, you're suggesting that was two titles at one point. And I don't think they want to completely lose the full lineage of that. And that's what's weird is I guess that at that point, the Universal titles lineage has to be rolled into the WWE's, you know, lineage, because that has the longer lineage. So you have to roll, like, it should be my point is it should be the other way around. It shouldn't be the Universal. It should be But
I think that's what they've done, because they're like, this is Roman's thing and it's the big thing. So we're ending this one. We'll carry him around, say that like when he unified the titles, right?
Right.
But like, I think that's what they've done more. I just don't think they're ever going to be split, because then what happens when they do? What, you have three major titles? That just seems weird.
It does. I don't know. Maybe the ones that Roman has when he drops it get a redesign or something too. Like, I don't know.
I think maybe then when he drops it, I think maybe then you get a new Universal Championship and the two belts goes away. I still don't know how you do it with the tags yet, unless, God, it would take forever. So you would not have belts on Raw. But if you had it go the way we've kind of been talking, where Solo and Roman get it, then the Usos eventually win them from them, like crumbling the blood. Then they could say like, hey, like, we're ununifying these titles, which I don't know how you get to decide you have the magic powers to unify or not unify.
I don't know.
Something.
These are rules.
And then you're like, so, and then they give
no. This is, by the way, you know what this is?
They're like, just take them.
I'm going to stop you right there. I know the rules, and I know what sort of sorcery this comes from. This is what we call Jack Tunney magic. Okay, Jack Tunney is the only person that has the capability to make random rules like this on command. Okay, if you don't remember Jack Tunney, you're not a real wrestling fan, because Jack Tunney was Vince McMahon, but an on-screen character of Vince McMahon that was an old man that looked nothing like Vince, but he had the powers before Vince McMahon was Vince McMahon. And Jack Tunney made all the rules in the WWF back in the day. He would just be like, yeah, okay, because of such disgrace by the Macho Man, Jake the Snake, I'm going to go ahead and make a match between the Macho Man and Jake the Snake in Elizabeth's behalf, because the Macho Man wants a match, and he would put money values on matches all the time, Jack Tunney.
The original authority figure character.
He was the first authority figure in the WWF. You don't remember Jack Tunney? This is
now that I'm looking at his picture, and I do now that I'm looking at his pictures, but
Tunney could unify a belt like that. He could take a belt away, just make a new one.
I'm looking at a picture of him sitting at a desk talking on the phone. He looks like he's talking about maybe unifying something or ununifying, or who knows. Maybe he was booking this bloodline shit.
He probably still is. I mean,
he's like, this story's been going on since Jack Tunney, if we really look at it.
I'd like to think that that Jack Tunney faked his own death way back in the day. He's like 110, and he's the one that's really running things, not Vince McMahon. Like he's the like Jack Tunney is actually the one in charge.
Dude, Jack Tunney just looks like he would just rip you a fucking new one if you did something he didn't like.
Goddamn right he would. And he'd schedule a match. You'd have to. Oh, you fucking. You were the dickhead that left the coffee pot on at the office, for instance. Like you forgot, right? Like you left it on. It fucking did the thing that everybody hates, and everybody's like, "Oh, fuck you, Matthew. We saw you make coffee and forget about it." And then you get called into Jack Tunney's office. You know what you're going to have to do to pay for your sins in this situation? You're going to have to probably go down there to a dungeon and get in a steel cage match with Stu Hart, okay? Like this is the sort of thing. And
you can't tap out.
Or else you lose your job. You lose your job, Matthew. You lose your job.
Yeah.
And so
you either fucking pass out or
He might, if you pass out, you might keep your job, but you're getting a slight demotion. Like you're working night shifts.
That's the only positive that you could get out of this.
Yeah, it's about it. It's about you.
Yeah, because you can't do anything else. Like you're literally just Stu Hart's play toy.
Yeah.
But you got to try.
You do have to. Oh yeah, Jack Tunney's got the cameras like Saw. Uh-oh.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, that was my Twitch thing. Something going on. I don't know. But hang on here. I'll figure it out because it's about time we took a break anyway.
Twitch is getting hot for Jack Tunney.
Yeah. This is I like that we did some Jack Tunney fantasy.
Jack Tunney talk.
Well, it's like Jack Tunney, what is it? Like fiction, fantasy fiction?
Fantasy fiction? Yeah, fan fiction. Yeah, that was good. Oh, sounded like something was on and then
there's just you don't tell me what I'm doing. I'll do it over here. I'm just keeping talking while you're doing stuff. No, it's fine.
We don't want dead air, right?
Well,
so John Tunney Jr., which is actually his name, was a Canadian professional wrestling promoter. He was known worldwide for his appearance on World Wrestling Federation television, promotion's first figurehead president.
Sounds about right. Sounds about what Jack Tunney did.
His tenure was during the company's initial worldwide boom in the 1980s, peak days of Hulkamania.
Oh, yeah.
On April 1st, 1990, Jack Tunney and Vince McMahon set the stage for WrestleMania 6 to the very first wrestling event at the brand new Toronto.
I don't know if he actually did, he was more of an on-screen character. Like, I'm sure he was a promoter, right? But I'm pretty sure that, he wasn't hired to be much of a promoter. Like Vince was doing most of that, and then
he was the chief WWF when he was hired as chief WWF promoter for Canadian tours.
Wow.
And he was president of Titan Sports Canada. After McMahon began operating it, in late 1989. So Titan Sports Canada, he ran that after for Vince McMahon.
Titan Sports Canada, I mean, that was probably a pretty big deal too. Like Titan Sports Canada,
yeah.
Like Titan Sports was their cable, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah,
how you got it on cable up in Canada.
That's how you got it. Yeah,
yeah.
How you did, and so, also let's see, just some fun Jack Tunney facts. So he controlled bookings still during this time at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto to a large extent for Maple Leaf Wrestling, while he was also running all of this other stuff with his cousin because they owned a 1/3 stake in Maple Leaf Wrestling, and he would promote 40 or more WWF shows per year.
Oh wow! So he was really on the booking committee, if you will, or maybe not the booking, but the promoting committee
in Canada.
So,
yeah.
All right. I didn't know that.
And then an on-screen.
Oh yeah.
And all the other stuff.
Well, Jack Tunney as an on-screen personality. I can't believe that you don't remember it as well as that was my my first days with the whole thing was Jack Tunney. Doing Jack Tunney stuff. Oh, yeah. Buddy, my camera for you is my capture card's being all funny, so I gotta probably do some shit, but it's about time we take a little break anyway, and I'll fix this so we can get the video stream up and running, so we can get you on there, and when we come back, we'll do some AEW chat for you. Like
Looking forward to it.
I think that's probably the right way to go with things. I've also got a bunch of actual match stipulations that came from when I think Paul Heyman must have just been doing like all the drugs or something. I mean, I think like some of these booking decisions, or not even booking decisions, but some of these match concepts from early, ECW days are quite worth a run.
Quite inventive.
Yeah, quite inventive. Some really good stuff. Let me get some tunes going for us here as we be, sidestepping into the break. And yeah, it feels good to be back. It feels good to be chatting with you, Matthew.
I'm enjoying it too, good brother.
And I tell you, man, it's we got a long road ahead of us, because man, we gotta talk about AEW, and I gotta talk about these crazy match stipulations. You ain't gonna believe them, folks. Thanks for listening to the first segment of the Ono Wrestling Podcast. We'll see you in just a few minutes. And Matthew, what do we say when we get out of here for just a second? Woo!